guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna talk about Gabbie Hanna. Now, I wasn't really going to talk about this, which I know is such a YouTuber thing to say, but I really wasn't until I got a snarky comment that said, oh, you only talk about Gabbie Hanna when, you know, she's in the wrong, or, you know, when there's something mean to say, but you don't give her credit where credit's due. And as much as that snarky comment was snarky, they did make a valid point, so here I am. I will give credit where it is due. That being said, this video is not gonna just be an ass kissing. It's just not. For the sake of organization and not wasting your time, I'm gonna make chapters, and they'll be timestamped down below where I'll refer to everything she referred to point by point. A lot of people, myself included, might have wondered, why now? Why that precise day did she decide to post a video that would garner a lot of views and get a lot of attention? Why May 14th? Well, interestingly enough, on May 14th, according to her Twitter, she had this pinned tweet, and the new EP song, Bad Karma, came out that same day. So am I saying that she posted that video that same day so she could get more traction to her EP? Potentially. It's just suspicious that they would happen to come out on the same day. That's all.
I know a lot of people are going to say that I'm doing this for attention because if you're following at all on my other social media, you know that my EP is coming out tomorrow. I have music videos coming out, but this video never would have happened if Jessi didn't publicly speak about me again, put me in her thumbnail, use tags with my name. Honestly, I would have ignored this forever had it never come up again, but obviously ignoring it hasn't done me any good. So outside of my music videos that I have coming up, my book announcements that I have coming up, I have some stuff pre-filmed and all of this stuff has already been planned. I am going to be taking a major step back from YouTube, which is something that I've been talking about for a while anyways, but I do think that this is the time to do it, and I do feel that I'm ready to do it. So thank you guys. I don't agree that personal matters and interpersonal conflicts should be made public or dealt with publicly. We're reaching a point in our world that frankly scares me. It feels like every day somebody new is canceled and it's becoming the norm to expose each other instead of to try to communicate or understand one another. I personally don't feel that making videos about people that you have a problem with is the example that we should be setting as the norm. If you get in a fight with somebody at school, the solution isn't to go around school and tell everybody why you have a problem with this person or why you don't like them. You should talk to them directly. You can get a mediator or a counselor involved, or you can just move on and not have that person be a part of your life anymore. The same goes for work, friends, family, anybody that you have a problem with, you should be speaking to them. I'm guilty of this too, of course, we know.
When Gabbie begins the video by talking about cancel culture, and most of the time when people talk about cancel culture, I don't really like how they talk about it because people start screaming about cancel culture a lot. Not everyone, but a lot of people start screaming about cancel culture when people are simply critiquing them. Now, as you guys know, I believe in critique, not cancel culture, and the difference is one is redeemable and one is not. So the way she approached it, I thought was fine overall. I do like that she addressed her hypocrisy because she did mention, you know, that making videos and talking about other people isn't the way to solve problems, which true to a certain extent, but then she addressed the hypocrisy because she's done that and she was doing that in that very same video. That's something that I appreciated. That being said, one thing I will note is that Gabbie Hanna has been in a lot of scandals, and a lot of them she caused. You know, they didn't just happen to her, like certain scandals happen to people over petty bullshit. A lot of the scandals, I think, you know, she had a big doing in. So when she talks about cancel culture, I can't help but wonder, you know, are you mad that people called you out for things, or are you mad really about cancel culture as a whole? That's a question that I don't have an answer to, but it's just a question that came up in my mind, and if you have an answer, you can leave that down below. First of all, she talked about her relationship with Jessi Smiles. To be honest, I don't think that was entirely necessary. I don't think showing all of those messages was entirely necessary, mainly because I just don't think it really did anything. I don't think anyone would necessarily doubt that her relationship with Jessi was complicated. Their friendship was complicated and messy. That's clear enough. I just don't think it had to be drawn out to that point. But then again, you know, people never believe things until they see receipts, so I understand why she showed some messages, but again, I didn't think it had to be that long. Mainly because when Jessi made her video, it was already clear that her relationship with Gabbie Hanna was complicated, so I don't really know why that was part of the picture, really, because the more important part was about Curtis Lepore, which I understand is connected to their friendship, but again, she could have segued to Curtis Lepore more directly. So she claimed that with Curtis Lepore, she did not support him, and so therefore she's not a rape apologist. I will retract my statement if she's not a rape apologist effectively because she wasn't, you know, having anything to do with him.
I've never, ever publicly defended Jessi's rapist. I have one tweet to him before the TMZ story ever broke. That was 4 months, I believe, before the TMZ story broke. Nobody outside of their circle knew what was going on, especially not me in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, completely detached from the Vine world. I would never in a million years choose him over her, and I would never and have never defended him.
What I will say is that the day the TMZ article came out, Gabbie Hanna tweeted a few things that are suspicious to me, that are not, to me, normal reactions to finding out about rape allegations. They're not how you react to finding out that someone was traumatized in a terrible way. So what did those tweets say? Now I will say, those tweets were tweeted the same day. They could be referring to something else entirely, but if you read them, it's hard to really think. Like a big story breaks about Viners and rape allegations on that day. Do you think people are really gonna be tweeting about much else? So the TMZ article came out January 16th, 2014. On that day, Gabbie Hanna tweeted, "Honestly, I'm just so sad that Vine gets TMZ publicity. #OurWorld." So she's aware the article is out, all right? On that same day, Brandon Calvillo said, "Vine is going to be odd for a little while. Hopefully we can all mind our own damn business and not add any more fuel to this fire." Gabbie Hanna said, "Fuck that, make it nasty." I don't know what else Brandon could have been referring to other than the news that broke about Jessi being raped. So that was Gabbie Hanna's reaction to finding out about rape allegations. Fuck that, make it nasty. To me, that's weird. I don't understand reacting like that. I think most people would react thinking, oh my god, I'm so sorry Jessi went through that. That's terrible. A whole series of things, but not this. So I'm not really sure what was going on with Gabbie there. And then that same day, Gabbie also tweeted, "Hold up, where's my popcorn?" Maybe she did not actively support Curtis Lepore, I believe that, but also her reaction to finding out about rape allegations, to me, is disgusting. I don't think it's in any way appropriate, so the way she reacted is questionable, to say the least. Another thing that was brought up that is also looped into Curtis Lepore and Jessi is Alex. Alex James made a video about Curtis Lepore essentially backing Jessi's story. The reason that Alex was brought into the video, the Gabbie Hanna video, is because she went on a podcast and said that he was a terrible person. She explains to us why he was a terrible person. Frankly, don't really know why that was really that significant. I mean, like, no shade to Alex James, but it's just kind of like in the scope, larger scope of scandals, her saying that wasn't that massive of a scandal in my opinion. But anyway, she tells us that Alex James is a terrible person, and honestly, he sounds pretty terrible, but it gets worse when Alex James actually was in pictures with Curtis Lepore and tagged in Curtis Lepore's tweets in February of 2014. So that would be the month after the TMZ article came out. It'd be hard for me to believe that he hadn't heard of or read the TMZ article, yet he still chose to hang out with Curtis Lepore. So the fact that Alex James might be a terrible person, based on what we're seeing here, the evidence is pretty strong. Just even aside from what Gabbie Hanna said, hanging out with a rapist after the story broke and was very popular, like it wasn't just like some small little story that 2 people heard of, though she didn't bring up that he hung out with Curtis Lepore, which, I mean, I think she should have, considering people were saying she was. She might have wanted to underline who actually was.
So out of the handful of tweets that I was getting that night, I chose somebody who I thought was older. Obviously I was wrong. She had tweeted at me something along the lines of, "I'm really hurt. I used to love you and support you. And then I found out that you ditched your best friend for her rapist to collab with him. Basically, you're a disgusting human being. I don't feel comfortable showing the majority of our DMs on screen because I know now that she is a minor and it doesn't feel appropriate, but all of the DMs are available online if you want to go find them."
Also, with the Jessi Smile scandal, she made a massive error. In fact, she was talking about the person she was DMing about Jessi Smiles, right? And she said that person was a minor. No, the person she was DMing wasn't a minor. She confused two separate people because there was a 15-year-old who tweeted at her, and then there was the person she talked to in the DMs who isn't a minor, who I've also talked to in the DMs, so for a fact, I know they're not a minor. And she confused the two. Her confusing the two people, in my opinion, is, first of all, a lack of research on your own video, and second of all, the person she actually DM'd got a wave of hate, which obviously can cause a certain amount of panic, so she did cause a little bit of chaos in someone's life because she did confuse two separate fans that she was talking to. There, she didn't really do her research or confirm that she knew exactly what she was talking about, which, again, is not a great look if you're really trying to clear your name. The Trisha Paytas thing, I frankly don't really think there's much to address because Trisha Paytas is a troll. Trisha Paytas gets into scandals with everyone. She has a problem at some point with everyone. So I don't really think that part is super worth discussing.
This is the situation. I was with David Dobrik and Jason Nash. They were in my apartment and Jason told me that he had slept with Trisha. At this point, Trisha had long since stopped answering my texts for a reason that I didn't know because we didn't talk about it. And I didn't feel like we had a relationship where I should or could text her about this situation and ask her about it. It didn't seem any type of appropriate to text a girl who doesn't want to talk to you, "Hey, just so you know, I heard you have herpes and you slept with my friend." It just, I just don't know how that conversation would go, I guess. So when Jason told me as a friend sitting on my bed in my apartment, I felt the need to say something. And I never said that Trisha has herpes and now Jason Nash has herpes. What I said was, I was told by a close friend of hers, and I don't know why he would have a reason to lie to me, that she has herpes. I don't know if it's true. Get checked if you're concerned about it, but have the conversation with her. What I've always told Jason, and if he wants to, he can back this up. David was there, he can back it up. I said, have the conversation with Trisha if you're concerned. I never said that she had herpes or that he had herpes. I never tried to get in the way of any type of relationship. I told him something that I would want to know myself as a friend if somebody knew something, and told him to ask her about it directly.
So it has more to do with Gabbie, but she talked about STDs and the hypothetical situation of what if a friend of yours is having sex with someone who you think or you've heard a rumor has an STD, what would you do? So once she did that, I think she said it herself that she was being malicious or that she was trying to cause a confrontation. I think that was incredibly immature, mainly because if you really want to ask a hypothetical question, there are a lot of different ways to do it. And on top of that, when you have millions of followers and you don't really blur out properly DMs and like who you're talking about, they're gonna find out. People online are fucking private investigators at this point. So I thought that was very immature. I think Gabbie did say that she was being, you know, immature about that, and that's that on that, but I never really had a big problem with Gabbie just because of that. It's the whole list of things that she's done that I have a problem with, not, you know, the smaller scandals.
There's one that keeps circulating that I haven't deleted about Beyonce, and it says that if I could be any animal, that I would be Beyonce. And this has been circulating because it's been taken into a racist context, saying that I am comparing black women or people of color to animals. I in no way was comparing people of color to the likes of an animal. What I meant is the euphemism, you're an animal. Like if somebody's really good at sports, you're like, you're a fucking animal. Literally, that tweet was my way of saying that Beyonce was more than human. And when people search for that tweet to find a tweet about Beyonce, they skip over the one where I say, there's always going to be somebody who's better than you at something unless you're Beyonce, which is just another way of me praising Beyonce. I've always loved Beyonce.
The Beyonce tweet, the tweet where she said if she were an animal, she'd be Beyonce. I get where she's coming from. I don't remember specifically immediately jumping to the conclusion that they were racist tweets, but I don't use the term, oh, you're an animal, to say to someone, oh, you're great. That's just not in my vocabulary. I know that it's a widely used term. So when I read it at first, I was like, what? But it makes sense. I didn't assume it was racist, but I can see why people would think that, because considering the history, she said it herself, it's not really the smartest terminology. So in conclusion, my final thoughts. Personally, I found the tone of the video off-putting. That's just a me thing. That's just kind of like the vibe I got. It felt a little bit preachy, to be honest, and there were a lot of times where to me, it seemed like there was a bit of a forced image of I'm the good guy, which I understand because you're trying to justify yourself or explain yourself. So I understand it, and I can even understand being maybe aggressive, which she wasn't, but you know, you might be when you're defending yourself, really. She said multiple times, if you want to talk, I think it was to Trisha and to Jessi, I don't block anyone, you can always reach out to me. I know I'm not the friend you want, but if you have no one, I'll be there. And while all of these are nice things, to me it felt a little bit forced, and maybe that's me being cynical, but I just felt like if you're gonna justify yourself, just justify yourself. You don't really have to play up this, oh, I was actually the good guy every single time. You know what I mean? So even though she did address she wasn't the good guy every single time, there was something a little bit off about that. I don't know, maybe that's just something I saw. The timing thing bothered me, especially because at the end of the video, she does mention her upcoming books and her new EP. In a video like this, it's hard for me to not see that as very calculated, along with the fact that her video came out the day that her EP came out, and she mentions it also in the video, and then she also pins the tweet, so all of these things are happening at once, so all the traction is coming in at once. It's hard for me to not see that as a very, very strategic business move. Now, you might say, you know, her new projects, she's entitled to plug them. Yeah, maybe, but if it's a touchy video, maybe just skip it and do it on the next video. Or, you know, she had a video prior where she was talking about her bad poem book, where like half of that video was already an ad for what was coming out soon. So I didn't like that. I do think it was a fairly decent video. Does it really change my view of Gabbie Hanna? Not really. Like on certain of things, yes, but my whole picture of Gabbie Hanna, simply because if someone is in a lot of scandals almost constantly, you have to ask yourself at one point, you know, like, are they part of their own problem? You know, if there's someone who's in a scandal every couple months, you have to start to wonder, is it always the other person who's wrong? If there's a common denominator, maybe something's there. So that's not to say Gabbie's a terrible person, she can never better herself, whatever. It's merely an observation. In terms of addressing things, I think she addressed them pretty well. Like I said, the tone I think was also a bit of a detractor, but overall, how I felt about the video was meh. Like, I'm glad she addressed everything. I think she should have done it earlier, and I understand that she had difficulty with deciding to do it or not, but if she had done it earlier, she probably would have gotten, well, she surely would have gotten significantly less backlash and things would have been clarified. So as much as I'm happy that she's addressing it now, I also think she needs to take responsibility for not addressing things earlier, because when you don't address things, it makes you look guilty, and she actively chose to not address certain things. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.